Hello everybody, my name is Brian Kelley and welcome back to Talk of the Town. We have a very exciting show for you. You know, I've called this show Talk of the Town, but this is the first time we really had something that was Talk of the Town. 15, 20 years, I don't know if I've been doing it, but this is the real Talk of the Town. And so we want to talk to you. I have a special guest here, Denny Swenson. And Denny, former member of the planning board, very active in politics in Milton, also a town meeting member. And Denny's here to tell us a little bit about why her and her group of supporters are against the new MBTA zoning. And I want you to know that I have her on the show because I'm against it too. So I want you to hear why. Because she said a lot of things that were convincing to me, and I have my own thoughts, and you'll hear those soon. But Denny, so tell us about Denny Swenson. Who's Denny Swenson?
Let's see. I moved to Milton in, I think it was 2006. I live over near Trailside Museum. I was on the Friends of Blue Hills board for a number of years. And I got involved with local politics and ran for planning board and enjoyed my 5-year stint. And here I am.
Now she's lying. She enjoyed her 5-year stint. Well, just think, maybe you're lucky you're not on it right now.
Yeah, that is a little bit of a relief.
Okay, so what motivated you? So the town meeting had a vote on this legislation, and I'm presuming you voted no.
Yes, I did. I did vote no.
Why?
Well, there were a number of reasons. I guess one of the biggest reasons, as I said, there are so many, but I think we weren't given a sense of how much this is going to cost. I didn't get a sense that there's a plan for how to deal with how much this is going to cost. I mean, we're talking about increasing our population by 16-17% conservatively. And so when you do that, you need more police officers, you need more firefighters, you need more resources for them, possibly new vehicles, benefits, insurance, all those things. And that's just 2 departments. All of the departments would be impacted and affected by a 16 to 17% increase in population.
And that's just an assumption, that number, because it's 25% more housing, so it could...
Well, yeah, so conservatively, yeah, but, you know, they say net new units.
Who's they?
I don't know.
They say. I want to write a book about them.
Sure. No, I know.
But we'll go with that assumption.
Yeah. The conservative assumption is 1,600 net new units with this zoning that's before us.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's all right.
Okay.
So what else? Okay, well, I do have some questions for you. Let me just.
Okay.
Oh, well, you talked about departments. Let's talk about a big department. What's the biggest department in Milton?
Do you know the answer?
I do.
Oh, good.
Do you?
The biggest department?
The school.
The schools, of course. Yes, the schools. Yes.
So on the schools, do you think there'd be any impact on schools?
I would assume there would be, because in East Milton alone, you're talking about 1,100 new units, and the nature of them, they have to be welcoming to families. I'm not saying all of them.
Up to 3-bedroom apartments or condos.
Yeah. I don't know the actual breakdown, but we have to be welcoming to families, and we are a very welcoming community, so I'm sure they would be. So so I don't know the actual impact, but 1,600 new families over a period of time. It wouldn't be overnight, but over a period of time, we would need a plan for how much of an increase that would be and how much it would cost. And we don't have the breakdown of that.
And aren't we already, allegedly, didn't town meeting, we voted on a new school already, right? Because we were told that we need a new school. So, and that's $100 million.
Right, and we couldn't find a place for the new school.
And they said there was nothing. They went over every location that the town has access to, and they told us why those would not work.
There was no
So
room.
now we're going to cut down a small forest near the high school.
Conservation land.
Conservation land
Yeah.
that was gifted to the town in perpetuity.
Yeah.
But perpetuity doesn't mean perpetuity anymore. We voted on a new school. It's $100 million. Now, it still has to go to the voters, doesn't it?
I think
we'll have to have some kind of an override or something.
Right, there would be an override.
Okay. So we don't even know what's going to happen there, but this could actually increase the need for an additional school, because if the school that we're going to build is just going to alleviate the overcrowding now, so this is a lot of money. And not just the money, but where do you put it?
Right. So we don't know. I don't know what that would be, but we don't know, and we don't have like an outline of a plan of how to pay for that. And even if you don't need a whole new school in addition to the other school, you may need more teachers, you may need more resources, more benefits for those teachers, and so on. So that is a big cost that we should be prepared for. Right,
and what I've read and everything, and listening in some of the meetings, they said, there's going to be very little impact of additional children in this. Well, how can anyone really know that?
It's a really good question. I was surprised by the projected low numbers, so I was surprised by that as well.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on from schools.
Okay.
What do you think of traffic in Milton?
Well, can I say one more thing about schools?
Folks, should I let her? Look at you're sitting there with bated breath.
Well,
go ahead. Talk about the schools.
Well, just that I think there is a misunderstanding about the school funding being in jeopardy because of this.
What people have inferred or said that this, if they vote no, that it could be jeopardizing school funding? Is that what you've heard?
I have heard that, but nothing official. But I did want to, explain that if you read the legislation says that the remedy for non-compliance is 4 specific funds. So that's the legislation. That's what the senators and representatives voted on. That is the law.
Okay.
4 funds. And the 4 funds are listed,
mm-hmm.
and they don't affect school funding. So that's...
And what's the average been in the last 5 years from those particular grants and things?
$35,000 a year.
$35,000 a year.
Yeah. So 3 of the funds we haven't gotten in Milton since 2012, and the 4th fund.
Well, that's only 10 years, 11
I know.
years. Come on, it could happen,
Right. So the real thing at risk is $35,000. But we've heard from the governor that she's not going to change that for 2024. Mm-hmm. So there is a little bit of leeway. And I understand that the governor is talking about other funds and potentially doing that later, but that's not in effect yet because the legislation specifies. Yeah, exactly.
And who says they would anymore? Matter of fact, the legislator might be a little upset about this as the different communities respond to this.
That's right. And there's, I think, 30 coming this year. So I think that the general public is going to learn more and more about this.
Okay. All right. So that's the school, and that's an issue that some people are concerned about. So all you parents and kids that you're worried about, I know, hey, listen, I was one fighting for the schools, the new schools, because my kids were in it. There were termites falling in my daughter's classroom, first grade classroom at Collycott. Mm-hmm. So I understand that as a school parent, that would be a concern.
Absolutely.
So that... I hope hope Denny has handled that concern. Okay. All right. Can we talk about traffic?
Oh, please. Let's always talk about traffic.
Oh, my goodness. I was talking to some of the neighbors recently. It's just unbelievable. I actually collected signatures for petitions. I was one of those people out at the Fruit Center.
Awesome.
I had so much fun. There were so many nice people. Even yes people. It was just a good experience. And but I got to say, one man said to me, he has a business. Steve was his name. I don't remember his last name, and I wouldn't say it but he has a business, and he will not go into Boston. They have to pay him a full day wage to go into Boston. And so it's becoming like, it's such a chore to get to Boston, especially at the 2 times a day, those 2 blocks, 3 or 4 hour blocks, and twice a day, that it's affecting his business. Mm-hmm. So actually it's affecting the people that are in Boston that need services. It's affecting them also because it's limiting their sources or their suppliers or their whoever they want to hire. So it's it just doesn't make sense to me that we're going to congest all around Boston and fill up our highways. So yes, we can give more people homes, but they can't leave them because there's nowhere to go. And this legislation says 1 car per unit. So where is it? I have 2 kids. We had 4 cars at one time. and my kids are gone now. They took the cars, okay? But if they came back, we'd have 4 cars again. And so they have to get to work. A lot of jobs aren't on a T or whatever, and not everyone works downtown. So it's just kind of mind-boggling that we want to congest this more. I live on Hope Ave, and if you see the traffic coming down to get onto the expressway, it's just insane. It's just insane, and every morning it's the same. We like to travel to my in-laws' area of the country. We used to go to Canada a lot, especially when they were alive. We go to see our brother-in-law and stuff. But when we go to Canada, we have to leave before 6 a.m. Because it will add an hour and a half to our trip. And when you're driving 8 or 9 hours, that's 6 o'clock. Sometimes I was like a little lackadaisical. I wasn't moving as fast as my wife would have liked. And we get out a few minutes late, and it's like night and day. It's almost like 5:30. Now it's steady. I mean, it's crowded, but at least you're moving. But that's in those times, it's going to get earlier and earlier that you have to go to beat the traffic. I was driving in Hanover, West Hanover, as a matter of fact, and I looked and I saw there's a Boston Children's Hospital branch
right there
in Hanover. And I said to myself, why did they make the decision to put a branch there? Because if the traffic wasn't outrageous, there would be no problem for most people in Hanover, unless it was the ultimate emergency, but you could use an ambulance, to get to the Children's Hospital. They felt, they know. Mm-hmm. They know. Why are they building these suburban satellites? Is because of the traffic. Mm-hmm. So I did a little research. I said, well, what about the traffic? And I found it here. And I'll put it on the screen for folks at home. This company, INRIX, INRIX.com, you can look it up. They study traffic around the world. And one of the reasons they do this is because they are a consultant firm to companies and municipalities and governments and cities and states. And what they do is, if you want to place your business somewhere, they'll tell you about the traffic, and they'll tell you how much time it's going to take for your general population around you to get to your location. And I'll give you one example that I just remember. If it takes more than 8 minutes to get to a fast food restaurant, people will not go to it. 8 minutes. Now, there's also how many minutes to get to a school. And matter of fact, just recently, the school buses, the parents get a thing. You school parents, did you get an email telling you that the buses are delayed by 20 minutes because of traffic? And so I know here over Squantum Street, they're backed up into Quincy some days, and it's just these people can't get out of their side streets. So I really feel bad for them. It's I can walk to my office in Milton, okay? And I consider myself fortunate.
Very.
But not everybody has that ability. Not everybody can work from home. Some companies are changing their thoughts on that. So it's a problem. But I do go to Mass General for some health. Speaking of health concerns, the reason I go to Mass General is because of my asthma. Okay? Mm-hmm. I heard someone spoke up at town meeting, and she spoke up about asthma. She says, all this congestion and this traffic and all these new multifamilies, which will create more
idling cars.
So all this is causing expanded number of children and adults with asthma. So I drove to Mass General because the last time I took the T in there, I got on the T in North Quincy, Rapid Transit, and I started going north, and the speaker said, next stop, Quincy Center. Now I'm heading to Boston. It said Quincy Center. And I did a quick wait a minute, did I get on the wrong train? Mm-hmm. I hadn't. And then we got to UMass Boston, and as soon as we get past UMass Boston, it said, next stop, UMass Boston, for those who want to go to Ashmont, get off here. We had already left the station.
Oh, no.
So, I know there's issues. But, and you know the issues. You've been watching the news. I don't have to tell you. You know. And if you've ridden on the train, and when they had all these slow zones and everything, it was really hot. So I decided to drive my car to Mass General. So I get through the traffic, I get on Steroid Drive, and then there's like a little loop around an elevated part right by Mass Eye here in Mass General. Hour and a half. I was. My wife always says leave early, and I'm not a leave early guy, but I did. I left way early, and I just made my appointment. Literally, I was like a fast walk in, and like nothing happened. But so, are we trying to choke Boston? Is that what we're trying to do? I don't know. So as you can see, I don't feel good about it. Is traffic bad in your part of town?
Oh, it's bad everywhere. I mean, I've been a candidate, and I've been supporting candidates since 2016. I go out every campaign cycle, and I go door knocking. I've hit doors in every precinct in town. That is the number one topic at the doors. That is the number one thing that we have in common in every precinct in Milton. People are very frustrated with the traffic, no matter where you are. So on my side of town, I can't leave my house between 7 and like 10. You can't move. I'll be stuck on Brush Hill Road for 40 minutes. I mean, it's standstill, idling, the worst case scenario. Then it's the same thing around 3 o'clock. I stop moving. I don't go out, from 3 to like 7.
So we do this subconsciously, don't we?
We go, no, we're not. I'm not putting myself in that situation where I'm just going to be stuck, frustrated, not getting things done. I'll leave at 7 or So yeah, we have the same problem in all of our precincts, the same level of frustration. I mentioned I moved here, around 2006. It's just grown every year since then. It's almost like we hit the tipping point where we were fine, probably pretty good before that, and then we just hit the point where our roadways just aren't made for this capacity of traffic. So imagine East Milton with 1,100 new units. Imagine.
Exciting.
It's
very exciting. Go to the food center. You won't be able to get anything. You think it's busy on a holiday now? You know the lines they have at food center?
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be crazy.
Well, the traffic, but also the parking. You can't park now. What are we doing? And how would we pay for the new things that we need? There's no plan to pay for it. So that's what I mentioned. Our taxes will have to go up because there's no plan to pay for it. So I worry about our senior citizens who are on fixed incomes.
You talking about me?
Yeah, me and you. I'm going to be there any minute. But no, I'm really worried about 60,
Sure.
70, our parents' age or a little younger. But they, they might live in their house where the mortgage is paid. You can't simply downsize them into an apartment or a condo with rent and condo fees. They are on a fixed income. Yeah. So it's not as easy as that. Like we create new housing, we just move them or we sell it. It's not that easy and it's not that simple. We have to be far more sensitive.
They won't be the ones moving into them.
No, it's not. It's good. They're going to be market rate. 90% are going to be market rate. So it's not going to be. And if you sold your house in Milton, you wouldn't be considered affordable. You wouldn't be qualified for that.
Exactly. Well, I hear some people are excited about this legislation. They're thinking that their kids will be able to move into these new units. Well, if you're a parent, you have kids at home still, and you're still working, they count the household income to see if you qualify for the lotteries.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's the household income. So you have to send your child
to an apartment.
Go find something. They already can't afford it. Now we're going to let them go to an apartment and struggle, and then they can apply. And that doesn't mean they're going to win because Henry's only had 4 units.
Yeah.
4 units, and so it's crazy.
Yeah, the concepts sound good, but then the application doesn't really work. And that's where we are. We really want to make, these concepts actually work for the town. That's
Tell the folks what exactly the legislation is telling us to do again. So that they understand where are they going to go? The town has already approved for them to go certain places. Help them envision this.
Okay, well, just kind of broad strokes. There are some on
Look
Elliott.
right in that camera.
So there are some on Elliott Street. I think it's like 70 or so. I'm not exactly sure. I don't
70 zoned properties.
Yeah, and then there's 1,100 net new units in East Milton. Then there are some on Blue Hills Parkway. I don't know the number off the top of my head. And I think there are some in other
It goes
places.
almost up to Tucker.
Okay.
And it stops at Tucker, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. I think there are some other places. I want to say Easy Space Storage, things like that.
Oh, yeah, that is.
I think there are a couple.
And the condo.
Yep.
The condo down at
the
wharf.
88 Wharf.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes some sense. I mean.
And Milton Hill House.
Okay.
Which has room to build more up there.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not that. It almost feels like it was incomplete. It feels like there was some time spent on Elliott Street, and it seems like some of the neighbors are happy with the approach on Elliott Street. 70,
So tell the folks what the approach is on Elliott Street.
It would be they could.
If I owned a house on Elliott Street, what could I do?
You could possibly do double it, make it a 2-family, make it a 3-family, but it would be like condos.
Could I make it a 4-family?
Possibly if you had enough space. But I think most or all of those units would be under 10 units of development per developer.
And what does that mean?
That means that none of them would need to be affordable.
So the ones the housing that would put multifamily housing along the trolley wouldn't be affordable.
Right, just along.
And are those the people that most likely wouldn't have a car? The affordable unit ones?
Possibly.
You know what I mean? Because car is an expense.
That's right. But so I lost my train of thought. But
Elliott Street.
Yeah,
we're talking about that they wouldn't have affordable there.
They wouldn't be required to do affordable if you're developing under 10 units. Anything over 10 units the developer would be required to have 10% affordable.
How do you feel about that?
It sets us back on our affordability goals in Milton. Any time we would develop units that have no affordable requirements means we have to come up with the affordable units elsewhere in town. Okay. So that puts us in that spin cycle with 40B developers.
How does that work? 40B. Tell the people about 40B right now.
Well, so we have approved. I think we're up to 10 40Bs and
10 that have already been approved.
But some of them haven't broken ground, so they don't count yet. But we have another.
Can we get a shovel over there or what?
Well, with the way the interest rates are and everything,
that's a little bit of a block right now.
Yeah, a lot of the developers aren't moving as quickly as they would if all the stars aligned. So so it's going to be a little while before these approved projects break ground. So that's on a little bit of a delay, but. We've approved, I think it's approximately 1,000 units, which gets us to 10%.
So we have about 1,000 new units, multifamily units, opening, are shovel ready.
No, we've already got about 500 or 5% roughly already in existence and already counted.
Okay.
And then we have roughly, approximately another 500 on the way.
Well, I'm in East Milton, and they're going to put 90 units right in East Milton Square.
That's right.
I don't know what the pocket is going to be like over there now. Fitness Unlimited, I can remember, they were having such a trouble with the parking, okay? Because they have a large following, and I like the women that run it,
Oh, yeah.
But with 90 more units right there, it's going to be... Have you gone to the food center when it was crowded?
Oh, yes, I know. It's
a shame because it's such a wonderful place, but no place is wonderful if you can't get it. If you have, the most important thing to people is their time. You see, my buddy sent me a chart. It's like a life chart, okay? It's upstairs. I'm not going to bring it down. But it's little dots. It says weeks and years. Okay, so what you do is you scrape off each week. You just lived. You scrape it off. Well, when he gave it to me, I'm so old. I had to scrape like 3/4 of the chart off. Okay, and so I got this little bit left, right, of my life expectancy. And see, everybody has a tendency to think. Not everybody, but most people think they're going to live longer than they are, especially if you're an optimist. Okay, so I think I'm going to live to 200, but it's not going to happen. So every week I scratch off. The point is, we are born and we die. In the area between that is a gap. That's your gap. That's your life. And the most valuable thing you own is that time. So I'm helping out with the campaign. We're knocking on doors and asking people to vote no. And we were over at Brugger's the other day, and there was a gentleman like at the table next door, like next to us. And I look, and he's like totally honed in on our conversations. So I went over. I said, "What's going on?" And he was a nice guy. Tim was his name. So he goes, "Yeah, no, I'm a yes voter." I said, "Okay, well, I'm a no voter." And he said to me, "What's your main reason for wanting to be against this legislation?" And I thought that was a good question. And I said, traffic. Because what sucks our time is the traffic. Okay? Mm-hmm. My daughter says, "Brian, Dad, you come down, I need help with something." No, I can't right now because it's traffic time. So can't do it in the morning certain time, can't do it midday to evening. So everything is around, like you said, traffic. It's affecting your life and you don't even know it. Mm-hmm. Okay? So then I asked him, "Well, why are you voting yes?" Well, he says, "Because I think we need more housing for families." I was like, "Okay. But how much is enough?" You see? So I came here. I like the green space. I like Milton. I like driving through the expensive neighborhoods. Why? Because I just like the green space. I like the feel. Okay? Now, some people that maybe are used to a city life and where you have a trolley going down the street and they come in rapid succession and you can go anywhere around fast, that's okay. But I didn't choose that. Mm-hmm. I chose more of a suburban area to make one of the biggest investments of my life. And for most people, the house is their biggest investment. So not everybody, but for a lot. So it kind of pisses me off that all of a sudden a group of people at this advocacy group can convince Governor Baker that we need 200,000 units. How do you come up with that? And then they decide, okay, we'll implement this. I truly believe.
Baker's not the governor now.
My sound tech just told me that Baker's not the governor. I know that, but this came to his desk when he was governor. And so, but the point is, I think if this went back to the legislation today, that they would look at this differently. I don't think this is helping Boston. I think it's choking Boston. I think it's taking our time away. And I resent that. I resent that it's taken. I look at that chart every day and it's whittling down. I don't have a lot of time, and I know some yes voters might be glad about that. But that's why I was perplexed at town meeting when a lot of the people that I really have got to know over the years through legislation we passed in town, that like I'm looking around, they were all like, I was alone. I felt alone. Especially, I'm sitting there and surrounded by people that just didn't see it the way. I get it. We all don't see it. We all have our own experiences. Okay?
It's a complicated issue.
So some people aren't having the same experiences that I have, but that's why I'm here. And you've had experiences that have brought you here. And what you found out, there's a lot of people that have had experiences that felt that they weren't being heard. And is that why the petition drive came about?
Yes, exactly. I was hearing from a lot of people, and then when we started to gather signatures, kind of like when you did, we were door knocking at various neighborhoods in town, and a lot in Precinct 7, where the densest part is. And 8 out of 10 of the people at the doors didn't even know that this was before them, and that that made us realize that this was sort of rushed through. I probably, like you, believe in a lot of these concepts, and I want to see them actually work. I just think that this particular bylaw doesn't deliver on those positive concepts that are in the legislation. And so I think if we hit pause and we give the planning board the opportunity to get us to 15% affordable, just come back with the plan with 15% affordable housing.
So instead of 10, you're hoping the planning board comes up with 15.
Yes, and there's consensus on that board. I've been watching the meetings, and then we can get ahead on our affordability goals, and we don't have to be dealing with either 40B developers or developers who say, I want all the waivers I want, and if I don't get them, I'm going to threaten a 40B.
Oh, I was speaking to you, and you mentioned, give me an example. Mm-hmm. You gave me the headlight example.
Okay.
Tell the folks, This is called the deer in the headlights example. Go.
Which one?
Which one?
I don't know. We've talked so much. I don't know.
It's just like you said, when a development, like a driveway, and if the lights are going into the other person's home.
Oh, yes.
Explain what you were talking about.
Oh, okay. So I think I was sort of saying that the challenge with this legislation is it's a one-size-fits-all. In other words, it's just a formula, and it just gets applied to Milton. So the formula is increase your population by 25%. It doesn't take into account all of the unique things in Milton. We have a lot of, we have the Blue Hills, we have, all of these challenges. We have Curry College, we have Milton Academy. We are built out, and we have these features that we can't change or build on top of. You can't build on top of a cemetery.
Can we make the whole town a nonprofit?
Well, I don't.
We are a nonprofit.
Yeah, then what would we do? Then where we? So like the challenges of just finding a little bit of space is very, very difficult. But so it's kind of backwards. So when I was on the planning board, we would go on a site walk, and we would go to the actual property, and we would walk around the property, and we would look at the topography features, and we would try to figure out what kind of building can go here, what's the capacity for this spot, and what are the implications to the neighbors and to the broader community, would be the traffic and those kind of impacts. And you'd walk all the way around the property, and you'd sort of examine that. And I had all my checklists, and the neighbors would come out and they would talk to us, and that's sort of the way that I view zoning. And this, the flip side of that is this legislation says basically kind of look at a map and try to fit in 2,500 new zoned units. And it's
not as intimate as what you would have to look at.
Yeah, it's not thoughtful zoning. It's ramming things in.
It's trying to meet a formula that the state has given.
Right.
Instead of saying,
we're not a one-size-fits-all. I mean, if you walk through Milton, every neighborhood is different, and it's special. And you can feel the time frame that it was built. You can see the age of the trees, and this was built in the 20s, or this was built in, there's a character in each neighborhood, and everybody thinks that their neighborhood is the best neighborhood. Because it is. It's the best neighborhood for them.
Right.
It is, and they bought into that neighborhood. Right. So, and there's a history to it. And then there's, I remember going on site walks, and somebody would say, well, the reason that's not going to work is because we always have flooding here every winter, and then it freezes right here, so you can't, and they just said, you can't take those trees down because the water's, and they're right. And you need to know that, and you need to work around that. So to just say, just put a 5-story building right there, doesn't take into account all that we know about a very built-up community already.
You mentioned a tree, but before I go to the tree, listen. So tell the people about the headlights on the car.
Oh, well, no, I mean, that's a really common thing.
Well, tell them what would happen on the site.
Oh, yeah.
So a developer has got a driveway they plan, and you walk the site, and you see there's a house right across the street, right?
Yeah, exactly. I would walk the site. I would walk on the driveway, and I would look, and I'd be like, the headlights are going to go right in that bedroom window across the street. Can you move the driveway over this way or that way? And they would. You have to walk the site.
But they were willing to work with the planning board.
Yes, yes.
So what's the difference then with a 40B or the new MBTA zoning, which
it's as of right.
Is that kind of like a 40B on steroids, right? It can be more restrictive to the community as far as their input and their...
Exactly. They don't have the input. We don't have the design guidelines. There are some standards. There are some design standards.
Right.
How far you can build, close to the street, far, from the abutter and that sort of stuff. There's some standards, but it's not the same as design guidelines. Design guidelines allow you to really incorporate, the historic features in the neighborhood, the materials used in the neighborhood, the timing of that neighborhood, and try to do things kind of in keeping. So it all comes together. Sometimes you walk through a neighborhood and then boom, there's this thing that just doesn't really fit.
Sure.
And so this allows us to kind of steer it in a positive direction. The environment, the wetlands, the impact, and then the impact to the abutters, the shadows. Things like that.
Oh yeah, the sunlight.
The sunlight, yes, it's a big one, and and then how Anyway, I could go on and on.
Well,
but-
that's all right, but that's what people do.
Yeah.
I thought you planning board members just sat around. I didn't know you actually did site visits and walking around.
So many site visits.
Does it come with boots?
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
get boots?
I had boots ready. I had my boots ready. I had my hat for the rain.
boots on the ground.
The boots on the ground. That's right.
But
That's
with
right.
the 40B and the MBTA zoning, we're not going to have nearly as much leeway or flexibility with the developers.
Or input. No, as of right, is very, very little input. I mean, the 40B, you know, having gone through some of it in your neighborhood, that there is a period of time where you give in your feedback, but you don't necessarily get any of those requests or what have you. It's less so. It's more as of right than our zoning was before.
So there's also a challenge with 40B in development, because if we ask for more parking, it costs more to develop the building.
Right.
And then if it costs more to develop the building, then we have to have more units in order to make it profitable. Yeah. Same thing with affordability. Everybody wants affordability, but it doesn't come free. The state doesn't pay for the affordability. Who pays for the affordability are the other residents of the building. Don't they? Because they have to raise the price of the other units to fund the affordable units.
Yeah.
Like at Henry's, there's 7, 6, 7, 8, 900,000 for the units in Henry's. Now the affordable auction is like 250,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, yeah, so there's less of a profit margin. As soon as you add an affordable unit, there's less of a profit margin for the developer. And that brings up another point. If you have...
What point does it bring up?
Well,
is this a good point?
Yes.
This is a good point. Okay.
In Milton, if you have 10% affordable,
yeah.
And in Boston, it's a required 17% affordable.
Yeah.
If you're a developer that's used to developing in Boston, you're going to be watching. Over in Milton, I only have to do 10% affordable. So developers are going to be very interested in, because there's a bigger profit margin at 10% affordable. So people are saying, oh, it's never going to get built. Is that?
Excuse us, folks. We have a special guest today. Libby, you better get down. Thank you.
It's any multifamily that we build in Milton, not only MBTA, but any multifamily, we should have 15% affordable, because we need to get ahead on the affordability.
Right.
So we can get out from under
the 40B.
These aggressive developers, the 40B developers, but also those other developers that say, if I don't get my waivers, I'm going to go 40B. And then they get their waivers.
All right, it's not just 40B, it's the threat of 40B. So you can have a friendly 40B or an unfriendly
40B. But regardless, we want to be, we want to be in charge of our zoning in Milton.
Sure.
Bottom line, that's what we really want. In the meantime, with this, mandate before a lot of towns, we want, the group that I'm working with, we really want to work with the state to create housing.
Are they a good group?
The good group?
Are they a good group?
Yeah. They are a group that crosses the spectrum of Milton. I did a quick analysis of the group right after we got the nearly 3,000 signatures. I checked, and the majority of them are unenrolled or independent. There's a good group there. And then there's a solid group of Democrats. And then there's a smaller group of Republicans.
But that's
just
how the
like
town
our
is.
town is.
Oh, so
exactly.
It's a good reflection.
It's a cross section of our town, roughly what our breakdown is town-wide. So it's not like a tribe. It's not like any group out there. It's just a group of people who say, you know what, I think we should hit pause. I think we should let the planning board have the chance to do their job. The planning board is waiting for answers from the state. The planning board is waiting for answers from the MBTA. And the planning board wants to institute the 15% affordable. And for anything that's built that's under 10 units, that can go to the Affordable Housing Trust. Mm-hmm. So we're on top of that issue. It took us a long time to get to 1040Bs approved. And there's a lot of heartbreak in that. There's a lot of neighborhoods that were really affected by that. We don't want to continue to go through that anymore. Sure. So we want to get ahead on that affordable housing issue.
Wow.
So it's just about hitting pause. It's not about saying no. It's not about saying never. It's about saying, let's just make this better. There were a lot of I's that needed dotting, a lot of T's that needed crossing, and there were a lot of concepts that sound good, but we're not actually achieving them in this bylaw.
And the only way we can hit pause is by saying voting no.
Absolutely.
Because if Milton votes yes, it's a done deal. We have no say. Is that what that is? Well, you tell me.
Well, it's very, very hard to, to reclassify if we've already said, oh, we're fine with that.
Oh, are we talking about the MBTA, what rapid transit again?
Yeah, the rapid transit.
Explain that to folks again.
Okay, so as you know, we're not rapid transit, but the state or somebody declared us as rapid transit, but it's a trolley. It's a historic trolley. It's a teeny little trolley. It does not have the capacity to move 1,600 new families in and out of Boston every day. It's not big enough. It doesn't have the capacity. We are not rapid transit. We need, as a town, to advocate to be reclassified.
So they classified Milton as a rapid transit community.
Right.
So
other towns with far more transit than us reclassified to adjacent community.
But I think I heard some of the people saying in the select board, the ones that favor this, saying that they tried to reclassify. What do you think? What do you say to that?
It was a very watered down letter. There was one letter that went and asked for the definition. That doesn't actually.
I could have gone on Wikipedia.
That doesn't really qualify as advocacy, in my opinion. But this isn't. The select board is in a challenge too. I don't want to pick on anybody. So I'm really not.
Hey, listen.
But what I do want to say is
I might be with them on the next issue.
I might be too. But what I really want to say is that we need to advocate as a town for reclassification. It is the difference of 1,500 net new units. So we would have 1,500. Zoned new units. It's the difference. I don't know exactly.
Between 2,400 and 1,500, something like that.
Well, yeah. So if we had adjacent community status, it would be around 985 zoned units.
Okay.
And if we have the current one, rapid transit classification, it's around 2,461 or something like that. So it's the difference between 1,500 zoned new units. Now, I know everything we zone isn't going to get built.
Sure.
But
maybe. If it's zoned, it's zoned, right?
If it's zoned and it's as of right, then when the finances make sense for a developer to do it, they will do it.
Right.
But I don't think anybody's going to tear down 88 Wharf, to put up a whole bunch. So there are some things that are going to be okay, I would imagine. In 100 years, maybe not, but I don't know. But right now.
Well, interesting thing, I think the fruit center is zoned for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The old fire station, the one in East Milton. So the town could sell that to a developer, right? Mm-hmm. Next door to it, there's all those little houses all around there. All of those, I think the old flower shop is already going into a new building, isn't that? I think there's a there's a multi-family going in there already.
Yeah, the 440 Granite Ave, yeah.
So, and all of East Milton, none of it is zoned where it has to have a commercial space underneath it.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. The other thing about it is
a commercial center, and they didn't give it to East Milton.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Because the law says only 25% or something can be commercial space by right, by law, have to be.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's something like that. So they did it over by
Central?
the chocolate area, chocolate factory area.
Oh, the village?
Milton Village, yeah.
Okay.
Like Milton Hill House area and all in there.
Okay.
That's how I understand it.
Well, in East Milton, I understand that the first floor is usually zoned commercial. If you're a developer and you only have to come up with one parking spot per unit, are you going to choose to put a unit on the first floor, or are you going to choose to come up with parking for the first floor?
Right.
Yeah, you're going to choose the one parking spot, not multiple parking spot for a business, because it's just going to cost more money.
What's the matter?
It's just going to cost more money.
My cat, Libby. Libby's
so bottom
getting
line.
an audition here. Well, that's important, because, for example, the McNosa family owns the fruit center. But let's say Mike McNosa died, and his family decided that they didn't want to handle the two stores. So that could be developed into a multifamily housing. Mm-hmm. And that's
it's as of right. It's as of right zoning.
Right.
It's as of right zoning.
Right.
And so what happens when
That's right, folks. Enjoy the Katie. That's Libby. Libby, say hello. Turn around and show your good side. Okay. But we're running low of time anyways, I think.
Yeah. What time
I don't know how
is
long
it?
we've been talking, but
Okay.
but
Check.
it's
What time? Yeah. So we'll check to see.
I think we're getting low.
I
So
think-
anything else you wanted to say to the folks at home? And we're encouraging you to vote no, as you can see. If you haven't understood that.
I think we covered everything, really. What do
All
you
right.
think?
Back on that traffic study, this company found that INREX, that Boston, Mass. Is the number 4 most congested city in the world. In
my
the world.
goodness.
Number 4 in the world. Is that unbelievable?
That is unbelievable.
Right here it
No
says,
idea.
4th in congestion rank worldwide, number 2 in congestion rank in the United States. Okay? Chicago's the first. We got a new neighbor just moved from Chicago. He thought he was going to get out of congestion. Okay, ready? 134 hours a year are lost in congestion.
140?
34.
Oh my God.
And the cost per driver is $2,270. And you think there's no cost to traffic? There's a cost to traffic. Never mind my asthma. I get bumper-to-bumper traffic on both sides of this peninsula I live on. The fumes must come out. Oh, wait. And we have airplanes. And you know, some of you who might be trusting our lovely government to do the right thing, how did it go with the new nav direction with the airplanes? You know, they used to be shared by all the communities, and now they using navigation software. They got the direct route, which is right over Milton. And how did that go? No, didn't work, did it? And then now we have helicopters because Boston's so congested. They now are starting helicopter service to New York. And where does it go? I'm surprised you didn't hear it today because
right.
when they come over my house, it shakes the house.
Oh,
okay?
my goodness.
So, really, I'm back on traffic and it makes me mad. Okay.
Oh, the traffic.
I do have an electric bike now to help me at my elderly age, but I just want to.
We
Go ahead,
need
what
a
else?
plan for traffic. And when you create zoning, you really need to create a plan for the impacts. Traffic is one of those impacts. We need a plan for the traffic.
And the legislation didn't require that.
No,
plan for traffic.
I didn't. No, but our town should. I mean, we should.
Sure.
Any zoning that you put forward, you need to have a plan for the impacts.
Right.
We need to have a financial plan with the sources and the breakdown of the numbers, and it should be publicly available. We should have a build-out analysis before a public hearing. These are things that we can do better if we hit pause, turn it over.
So how do we hit pause?
Vote now.
And if you don't know, if they're not sure what they should do, if they don't know, what should they do?
Vote no.
So if you don't know,
Vote
no. I like that.
But
Okay.
also, we do know we can do better. We know we can do better, and we know we should do better. And we know we need to have a more inclusive process, and we need to have an article that has broader appeal to the constituents, to our stakeholders and citizens.
Because we wouldn't be here today if they had done their homework and they had got prior approval by all the neighborhoods, especially the ones impacted. Because those people wouldn't be up in arms about it now.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
you know, that's what you need to do. You need to ask your neighbors. You need to talk to people. Not just numbers. It's got to be the real, this is what we're doing and this is why. And you know what? I think it can be better. And I think if Milton stops now, then other communities are going to do the same thing. And I think that's going to cause our state legislator to reconsider some of the mandates that are in this and maybe make it more palatable and maybe make it better for all involved. I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
You know, COVID changed a lot of things, you know, and the world has changed and hopefully we can make it better. So.
Yeah. Vote no and make it better.
We can make it better. Okay, folks,
Okay.
you have just watched a fascinating show of Talk of the Town, the first real Talk of the Town in 20 years. And so I'm glad you were here. I hope we didn't bore you too much. And if you need to go to, they have a website. We have a website because I'm one of the I'm a follower.
Oh.
So I'm a Denny follower. So what's the website?
You know what? I don't know.
No, 4Milton.org.
Oh, good. Gosh, you know, I should know that.
This is our great leader. No, 4Milton.org.
Okay.
Repeat after me.
NoForMilton.org.
Say thank you to the folks.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Brian. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for watching another episode of Talk of the Town. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.